What's everybody else grateful for this morning?
I am extremely grateful for a book that Stephen recommended to me,
Mm.
All the Way to the River by Elizabeth Gilbert. It's I'm listening to it on Audible as I drive and cry. But this book is already has been, it's going to be totally life-changing for me because it tells my story that I've never heard anyone tell before.
Mm.
And I cannot express how grateful I am to know that there are people with my addictions and my issues out there. I didn't know that. I don't know how I didn't know that, but I didn't know that. And now I do. I'm just extremely grateful and makes me look so forward to the future that I have as I heal from this.
Mhm.
Well,
Thank
that's
you,
awesome.
Stephen.
Oh, I'm so glad that you resonated with that book. Oh, that's so good. I love that. And that you feel community in that. That's just so important. And just to know that you're not alone.
Yes.
Okay. And so now, Joy, yeah, there you go. You mute, you can log off of your tablet.
Now you're here
There
twice.
you go.
Baby steps. Serenity, what about you?
Yeah.
What are you grateful for this morning? Can't, it looks like you're unmuted, but we're not hearing anything. Technology. It's always tough when you have multiple devices too. And mine does that all the time. Like it'll just randomly choose a different microphone or a different
Yeah.
screen or a different something.
Can you hear me now?
There you
Yeah, we
are.
can hear you.
Okay.
Mhm.
I am grateful for the right words and the right language. I haven't really understood what my fear is that's been holding me block and keeps driving me towards the obsessive, unhealthy habits of compulsion eating or scrolling or avoidance. And the right word was controversy. And once that hit me, I was able to actually tell my story in a way that I understood what my fears were around the controversy of it. And for somehow that, once I was able to do that, I was like able to let it go and step into who I am. And the right language suddenly started flowing on who I am, what I believe, what I value, how I want my life to be, and see for myself. And it just was like, bam, and I could feel that alignment coming then. So
That's great.
Yeah, very good. Stephanie, how about you? What are you grateful for this morning?
I'm grateful for synchronicity, like recognizing synchronicity and how the unexpected, when you don't have an expectation of how it's received, it could be just people talk. I hear a video and I know that message is for me. And just receiving off the wall stuff and how it's all clicking really fast right now. Just like something's expedited in the way the universe is unfolding information. And it's undeniable that it's just too synchronistic to not be like a being or recognition of just reassurance that you're on the right path and you're not nuts and everything's okay and you're supported by the universe or the divine. So that's what I'm thankful for right now in this group. Thank you.
That's awesome. Well, glad to have you with us. Jerry Lynn, how about you? You got some gratitude you'd like to share?
Sure. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. There, now you can see me. I'm grateful that I got on here so quickly because I haven't been here for a long time and I historically always struggle with where's the link but I made it here and it's just brought a friendliness and calmness to me just hearing your voices. And my camera's off because I just got my breakfast together of
Mm.
seasonally pumpkin flavored yogurt with almond butter and cinnamon granola on it. And so I may turn my camera off while I eat. Grateful for cooler days and nights as well. The heat and humidity really bother me. And yeah, already grateful for what I've heard. I'm grateful for synchronicity and the things that come my way that feed me and inform me, and that I believe I intuitively, from some inner connected source of wisdom, choose to look at and read, because I get now a bazillion emails and a bit like, so the scrolling thing is troublesome because I'm curious and love to explore. But so many of the things that I do choose to read or look at or watch or listen to are of a theme that's important and helping to reveal more and more about my struggles and stuff. Yeah. And
Awesome.
grateful that you guys are doing this in here.
We're grateful to have you
Thank
back.
you.
Good to see you. Jean, how about you? What are you grateful for today?
I am grateful for the gift of relaxation that Qigong brings. I had a really frustrating, difficult week, and a couple of times I say, "Oh God, I just want to drink." And no, you don't. That's not going to do any good. Let's do some Qigong. I kept like working through it, and it's just amazing how much better I feel when I just stop, do some Qigong, and then refocus and move forward with a plan rather than anger, rather than lashing out. And I was able to get to the point where I was joking with some of the neighbors about the craziness and like just being like wild and ridiculous about it. And I said, wow, and this is me sober. Imagine how crazy I'd be if I was drunk now. So it was fun. Yeah, and sorry I was late. I was listening to a book review from Grandmaster Chun-Yi Lin. Has a new book coming out, and I thought it was supposed to be a half hour, and it was still going when I left, but I'm hoping there's a recording somewhere to catch it. But it was very interesting. So that was a nice way to start the morning too.
Awesome. We're glad you made
Lovely.
it. Excellent. Let's jump in. Just a quick reminder for all of us that Qicovery was born in 2024. Still crazy still to me that it's been that long, because we used to say it in that year. It's like
I
Qicovery was
know,
born.
right? And now we're about to step into 2026. Crazy.
It's nuts. Yeah. And we're not too far away from our year anniversary of this. I was thinking we should plan something special for the
A party? A
year
party?
anniversary. Yeah, I don't know what that would look like, but any suggestions are welcome. But I digress. But it was born last year as a result of our desire to introduce the transformative power of Qigong to those in recovery and share how it continues to help us in our recovery. Whether you're recovering from an injury, managing a chronic illness, or seeking relief from the stresses of daily life, Qigong provides tools to support your journey. Our purpose is to help anyone seeking to recover from any addictive behavior, as well as loved ones of those in recovery. This is an open meeting where all people from various recovery backgrounds are welcome. We do not discriminate. We are glad that you are here, especially those of you who are new to recovery. Also, as a quick reminder, we record each meeting up until the point that we start sharing, as long as Todd remembers to stop the recording, so that you can feel free to share with only those of us that are on this call. With that, I will turn it over to you, Stephen.
Excellent. Let's do some Qigong. And it's funny, when Jean was sharing, it reminded me that, okay, little baby, I'm going to have to move this chair, but you can stay there. It reminded me that of the chapter that we're on of my book in the book study. We just did the triggers and coping strategies. And one of the things that Catherine and I were talking about was something that my friend Susie says in the book, which is how important movement is in helping us with our triggers and how we respond to life. And that you move a muscle, you change a thought. You move a muscle, change a thought, whether that's with Qigong or going for a walk, just how impactful that is. So let's just start with our legs about hip width apart and soften the knees. Feel a heaviness in your pelvis, your tailbone dropping down, and the spine lifting long. Let's draw the shoulders down the back so the heart is open. Let's bring the hands together at the lower belly. And let's just take a few deep breaths and truly arrive here. So you're going to inhale through your nose and feel your belly expand. And let's exhale out through the mouth and feel your belly soften. Again, deep breath in. Deep breath out. Be a witness to your breath. Let's take one more breath. Good. Let's relax the arms down. And let's shake out the hands, the wrists, the arms. Let's just do a little bit of shaking, releasing anything that we're holding on to that is no longer serving us in the moment. So let's breathe in through the nose and let's exhale out with the liver sound. Shh. Deep breath in, deep breath out. Shh. Shh. Just feeling and envisioning the smoother flow of chi through the body. The liver is responsible for the smooth flow of chi throughout the body. Let's take two more collective breaths together. And slow the movement down. And just pause for a moment and notice what you feel. Good. Now let's activate the chi in the body with a little knocking on the door of life, turning from your waist, knocking along the low back and the abdomen, stimulating the kidneys, the energetic battery for the body. Did you know that the kidneys are responsible for our growth and our maturation, the unfolding of our life cycle? As you move from the center of your body, relax your shoulders. And now let's stimulate the lungs by tapping on the corner of your chest. And tap on the top of your shoulder with your palm. Softening the shoulders, allowing them to drop down away from your ears a bit more. And going back down to the chest again. And the low back and the waist. And begin to slow the movement down. Slow it down. Good. Hands on the thighs, knees soft, and let's do the wave. So we shift the hips back, we bend forward, open the chest. Relax the head, look towards your belly, slowly roll up through your spine as the hips press forward. Relax your shoulders, lift the head, take a deep breath. Exhale, shift the hips back, bending forward. And rolling up through the spine, stretching the back. Another point of view, hips shift back, bending forward. Rolling up. Just envision energy traveling up the spine and then down, up the back, down the front. You could even place the tip of your tongue on the roof of your mouth, connecting the circuits between the sea of yang along the back and the sea of yin along the front. Microcosmic orbit. Moving with the quality of water. Soft, relaxing, yet powerful, nourishing. Let's do this twice more. Good, standing nice and tall. Let's take the arms out to the side, spread your fingers, draw your shoulders down. And let's bring one ear to one shoulder. Gently roll the head back and forth over that shoulder. Lengthening the lines of tension in the neck and shoulders. Try not to force a stretch. Listen to your body as you move. Breathing deeply as you move. Next time your head is forward, bring your chin to your chest, roll your head over to the other side, ear to the shoulder. Roll the head back and forth over the shoulder. Next time the head is forward, bring your chin to your chest, relax your arms, lift your head, and just shake out the arms. Okay. Let's take the hands to the hips, place the thumbs on either side of the spine and the low back. Let's shift the hips back and shift the hips forward and press your thumbs into the muscles on either side of your spine. Inhale as the hips shift back. Exhale as they shift forward. Try to keep your gaze forward as you shift your hips forward. Don't take your head back. Oh. I love it when cats and dogs, when they're sleeping, how they put their paws over their eyes. And so the room's not dark enough. I need to make it darker. Yes, little baby. And feel free to move your thumbs to different spots along your low back and even down towards your sacrum, towards your tailbone. Let's do one more. Good, standing tall. Let's do a double arm spiral, so the arms out to the sides, palms face up. We bring the elbows in as the hips shift back, fingers reach back, hips go forward, arms out to the sides, in front of the face, over the head, out to the sides. Again, hips back, fingers reach back, hips forward, arms out, arms cross in front of the face, above the head. Another point of view. Nice deep breaths in and out. Opening up the joints throughout the body, especially the shoulders, the arms, and the hips. Try to keep the palms facing up throughout. Let's do this twice more. Last time. Arms open out as you stand tall. Float them down. Let's round the arms in front of us. Relax the shoulders, soften your knees. And let's do tree sways in the wind. So we're going to turn from our waist to one side. Float the arms up the side of your body. Fingertips hover over the crown center. Face forward. Arms open out and down. Rounding the arms. Turning from the waist. Floating the arms up. Facing forward. Arms open out and down. So take a nice deep breath in. Hold the breath. Exhale, arms open out and down. Turning from the waist. Inhale as the arms float up. Exhale, arms open out and down. This relates to the principle of movement of resiliency, having the proper blend between strength and flexibility. A healthy tree is both strong, firmly rooted into the earth, yet flexible enough to withstand the strength of the wind. And we want to model that as much as possible in our body. Emotionally, we want to be resilient, and mentally and spiritually as well. Moving with the winds of change in life. Because one thing we can certainly count on is that things are going to change. So how do we work with change? How do we surrender? How do we accept the things that we cannot change? How do we find the courage to change the things that we can? And how do we know the difference? Right? All leading back to that Serenity Prayer. Let's do one more to each side. Let's bring the hands together, place them on the low belly, legs, feet together, soft knees. And let's do a little bamboo in the wind to close us out of our physical practice. Just let the body rock and sway gently as you feel the connection to the earth beneath your feet. Breathing into the center of your body. Filling yourself up with chi. Take a nice deep breath into your body. And as you exhale, relax your arms down, separate the legs, and relax. Try to carry that energy with you for the rest of your day.
Thank you, Stephen. In the spirit of synchronicity, Stephen and I didn't talk about this before, but today, instead of a video, I'm sharing about the Serenity Prayer.
Oh, that's cool.
So funny. So funny. So just dig deeper into it. So I have this book. It's by the author is Elizabeth Sifton, and she is the daughter of the author of the Serenity Prayer. And the subtitle is Faith and Politics in Times of Peace and War. And Steve, it's interesting, again, back to the synchronicity, as you were talking about the challenges of life and then tying that into the Serenity Prayer is so fascinating because the Serenity Prayer, we've talked about it a little bit, I think, on some of our Saturday sessions together, but it wasn't created by AA or Bill or Dr. Bob, but the way that it came into AA is apparently one of the members. I don't know all the dates. I don't know if you can trust all of the dates that you read anyway about when they were and what they were and how they happened, but a long time ago, apparently one of the AA members at the time, this is probably like late 30s, early 40s, read a obituary that had the full version of the Serenity Prayer in it and sent a note to, I guess it must have been Bill Wilson or to the whatever they call it, the home office, and said, I've never seen anything that is a pure distillation of what AA is all about than these three phrases, at least in that first part of it. So they adopted it and started, who knows how things actually become a part and so woven into the history, but now it's almost like a mantra. And I think if you shared the Serenity Prayer with people, it's immediately identified with AA, like it's the recovery AA prayer. But that's not how it started. So most of us know it as a recovery tool, if you will. And when I'm feeling challenged, and a lot of times I'll just repeat it back and over and over. And we close, like I almost said adulterated it. I don't know that we augmented it. That's a better word for our purposes. So we include the centering at the end when we're doing the Serenity Prayer. But it wasn't born as a recovery tool. It was really born in a very different type of storm, which was the rise of Nazi Germany and the threat of global war and this whole world teetering on despair. So I thought today it'd be good to explore a little bit more of the origin story and how I think it makes it even more powerful for us today. Reinhold Niebuhr, he was a German American pastor, theologian. He was the son of an immigrant pastor raised in Missouri, but he had the opportunity to go to Europe several times in the 30s when Hitler was on the rise. And he was able to witness firsthand some of these rallies where he saw tens of thousands of Germans saluting in unison, these torchlit processions walking around, swastika banners flying in the sky. And he wrote about what he said the mesmerizing power of Hitler's propaganda and the way that it erased individuality. It drowned out dissent and it wrapped, I think that the term that she said in the book, that it wrapped cruelty in pageantry, which I thought was a really powerful phrase. So he, being Reinhold Niebuhr, met with some of the German church leaders, and apparently a bunch of them at the time were just torn with it. Some resisted the regime, but others that they called the German Christians were aligning Christianity with Nazi ideology and baptizing this sort of nationalism with, I get religious language, maybe is the easiest way to put it. So you can only imagine the anguish for the German Americans that were here, people that had come from Germany, seeing this stuff happening. So that was in the background of them being really concerned about what was happening in their homeland, seeing it surrendering to this darkness. So for him, that was really the breaking point. Up until that point, she goes on to say that he was very much a pacifist and then began what he called Christian realism, or the conviction that evil was real, that it was organized, and that it had to be resisted with courage and not just wished away with optimism. So apparently he voiced this first prayer in the 40s, 30s sometime. And at that point, we were in the middle of the Great Depression, right? You've got Mussolini doing whatever he was doing with fascism in Europe, and then finally by World War II. And so I think what was fascinating is the way that he took and tried to help people resist what he talked about the two temptations in this case, which is naive idealism, right? Pretending the world is peaceful if we just wish it to be so. It's not going to just happen by itself. Or the opposite of that, what he described as cynical despair, right? That believing that nothing can be done anyway, right? This sort of the difference between naive idealism and like nihilism, like there's nothing you can do about it anyway. So in that sense, he was going through, and as he was working on this, he apparently the first time that he shared this as a prayer or maybe part of a sermon, not quite sure, but shared this at a very small church in Massachusetts with a bunch of farmers. And so she says, imagine a bunch of just ordinary villagers sitting in a pew and listening to this pastor who then really helped focus, because keep in mind, this is before instant news. right? They didn't have Instagram. They didn't have 24/7 access to things. They didn't have a Facebook Live where they were in the middle of these Nazi rallies filming all of this stuff. It was little news clips that they would get here and there. And so for him, I think being there, seeing that in person just was really a shock to his system. So he really wanted to use this prayer as he framed it to really help people with as Hitler's rise at that time being especially painful, and praying these words that he believed then named what their situation was. So the serenity being to accept what they could not change, like the reality that Europe was at war. Then the courage to change what they could, like resisting fascism, supporting refugees, speaking truth in their communities, and then the wisdom to know the difference, in their case, when to yield and when to fight. And she goes on to say that the prayer was not meant to make people feel better. It was meant to give moral clarity in a time that they felt that the world had lost its mind. Goes on, it's spread more. Obviously, somehow it got adopted. Obviously, it is very appropriate for AA. But I thought for me, I'm a big history buff anyway, so I always like to understand where things started and how they got started and how did it come to be like this. So I think that what's really powerful is the rest of the prayer that he had that we don't recite, probably because it's too long to memorize for the end of a meeting, but the entire prayer goes on to say, so it says, God, of course, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Then he goes on to say, living one day at a time, also another AA sort of truism, right? Just one day at a time, enjoying one moment at a time, accepting hardships as the pathway to peace. And then he goes on to say, taking as he did, in that case, referencing Jesus, said, taking as he did, the sinful world as it is, not as I would have it, right? Because we always hope that the world's going to be different somehow, or it should be different, and trusting that he will make all things right if I surrender to his will. And then he closes to say that I may be reasonably happy in this life and supremely happy with him forever in the next. When I was drinking and doing drugs, it was never my goal to be reasonably happy. That was not that was not the intention. I was looking to get as checked out as I possibly could. So I think that if thinking about it in particular, that line, taking the sinful world as it is, not as I would have it, that line really comes alive when you remember what he had seen in at those rallies. Like you can only imagine what that impact was and what he was actually feeling. So I think if then we fast forward to then after he's seen these things, he's been to the church, he's been sharing all of this stuff. One of the AA members, like I says, finds a clipping of that prayer in the newspaper and somebody's obituary. Not this guy, not Reinhold Niebuhr. He didn't die until 1971, but finds it, sends it to the New York office, and then apparently in the beginning they printed it on cards. And so then those cards they just handed out to everybody. And then I think at some point, of course, they condensed it. But I think that the genius, in the sense of AA, was to take that prayer that was forged in the face of Nazism and apply it to the battle with addiction, right? Because they both involve surrender and resistance, and they both involve discerning what's in our control and what isn't, right? And they both require this practice of daily wisdom. So when we say the Serenity Prayer, and I think, and that's part of why, of course, we augmented it, right? Because I think that centering exercise even helps as well, just to really become more present in this moment. But when we're praying, that it's not just trying to say some sort of comforting mantra, right? It's not just because a lot of times, and there's a lot of things, if you memorize, you say them, and whatever the meaning is doesn't even matter. In fact, it's funny when a lot of times when I start doing the Serenity Prayer at the end, I'm worried I'm going to forget the words. So now what happens next? So a lot, and but not even really leaning into what it is. But we're not just saying this sort of mantra. What we're doing really is stepping into this tradition that was like forged in fire, right? That these German American Christians grappling with the horrors of what was happening in the Nazi world. And when he had been there and he had seen this like hypnotic pull of evil up close, and this prayer really gave, I think, the people that were hearing it the courage to resist, right? And the clarity to endure. So I was thinking about this in our world and just like some practical application of this is like thinking through each of the first three, I guess it's one sentence, I suppose, but each of those three parts, right? So the serenity is like stop trying to control the uncontrollable, accept the things I cannot change. And as I always say too, the things that we can't change is everything that's happened up until this very minute. Just before we clicked on here, there's nothing that has happened in the past that we can change, not one thing. And then where do I need courage? What is the courage that we need to resist the forces that destroy life? Or what's the courage that we need to face our own demons, right? Or the courage that we need to go make amends, or the courage that we need to do the right thing. And a lot of times it's very challenging to be able to do that. And then where do we tell the difference, right? How do we have the wisdom that we need to really be able to go through and really be able to have a toolbox, if you will, to really be able to have more serenity, of course, of really being able to go and so many of the terms that seem or sayings or aphorisms or whatever that AA has sometimes they just seem it's just a trite saying, but so many of them that are so simple have such deep meaning, even though it's just printed on a wall somewhere, you hear it so often, you almost become numb to it or blind to it, or you can't really understand it. But thinking about those next sort of parts and pieces, like for us, like this idea of living one day at a time, as he says, enjoying one moment at a time, that recovery really shrinks time to a human scale, right? To today, to this moment. And that's also, I think, a lot of what we talk about and teach and hopefully practice with Qigong is it's also nervous system wisdom as much as it is spiritual wisdom, right? And so I think even what Jean said earlier, you can have this chaos, and when you can take that time to stop to be in this moment and realize I'm okay. There's no bad guys knocking at my front door, that I'm okay in this moment. I think that just that one phrase, just deeper reading and that stuff underneath to me really was impactful. And then the next line he has, accepting hardships as the pathway to peace, not trying to glamorize pain in any way, but it's really naming the unresisted pain. It transforms at that point more than it torments. And we've talked about this a lot on some of the recent webinars that Stephen have done recently is like when you can name it and when you can see it and when you can then you can actually do something about it. But a lot of times we're afraid to actually name it. So naming whatever that unresisted pain that really transforms more than it torments, because once you've actually labeled it and then name it, then you can do something about it. But then he goes on to say, taking this world as it is, not as I would have it, that is serenity, right? When we stop trying to rearrange reality to match whatever our compulsion or our fear is, that's the heart of really of recovery and certainly of Qicovery, what we're trying to do together. And then I think trusting if I surrender to his will is that it's the whole part of that, what AA in particular talks about higher power, right? That trusting if I surrender to his will, that's courage, right? That's courage to release control so that we can actually then act where it truly matters instead of trying to control everything. So, one of the things that I was thinking is just some prompts that we can take into this week is like, where do I need serenity, right? What can't I change? What are those things that I'm not able to change? And where do I need courage? And again, breaking these down into smallest pieces as possible, right? What's one change that I can make today? What's the one phone call I need to make? Or what's the one email that I need to send? What's the one thing that I need to do that I've been resisting that I'm afraid of, or it's going to take me out of our comfort zone or whatever it is, but not trying to fix. You can't fix everything in one moment anyway. But what's one thing that I can change today? And then thinking about wisdom is who or what helps me practice wisdom to tell the difference. We have the courage, but is it wise? Is what you're anticipating, whatever you're trying to take on, is it the right words? Is it the right time? And are there other people or other tools or resources that you can go to really help make sure that what you're doing is with integrity and is going to help make you stronger? So anyway, I could go on and on about that. There's a lot more details, but I also want to make sure that we've got plenty of time for everybody to share. But I thought that some of that might be new to you guys, some of that might be old news to you guys, but I wanted to open it up for you guys to share about the Serenity Prayer.